this is Heidi from Garden Crossings. It is the beginning of September, and there's just something about once that calendar turns to September that just kind of puts a little sadness in my heart. I love summer so much. I love the summer gardens, but I know every season has its beautiful points to it. It's just so sad to see all the annuals when they start to take a turn when the weather starts getting cooler. That being said, let's take a walk through my garden here at my house and take a look at how the annuals, perennials, and shrubs are doing here in the beginning of September. So we'll start off in the front of the house like we normally do. Rod's actually out here today, tonight actually filling up the aqua pots. He usually does this about once a week or so. As we get closer to the end of the summer, these pots get larger, the plants get larger, and they use more water. Is it about once a week still, Rod, that you're doing it, or more often? Oh, we're up to twice a week now that these aqua pots are getting filled. When he fills it, he also puts some water-soluble fertilizer down in there, and then that also helps give these plants the nutrients they need. So the plant in this container that really is standing out is the penny lace sweet potato vine. And Rod has an opinion about sweet potato vines. What is that, Rod?
Every sweet potato vine you put in this pot takes over.
That is true. Sweet potato vine are a very aggressive annual, and generally they do take over the pots by the end of the summer. I personally love the look of this one. It's staying really nice too, like the beetles aren't getting at it, so it's nice and clean, and I'm really loving the coloration. Some of the other things in this pot are some of the new mini Vistas for 2023. We have the Supertunia Mini Vista Midnight, which is that dark purple one. Also some Swedish ivy. Here's what plants start looking like at the end of the summer, kind of ugly. So we don't want to look too close in there because see, if I pull it back, it looks better than when we're close up. We have some Mini Vista Yellow. Those are doing really nice, along with the new Lantana. Love the beautiful rich yellow color on that one there. Let's see if we go around the edge, if there's some more Nemesia showing. The Nemesia is kind of getting, yeah, it's getting gobbled up. So let's just take a look at it right here. I'm surprised this Nemesia has done as well as it has all summer long. It's just a beautiful, this is Air Romance Mulberry, and I love this plant. When we get to the backyard, I'm hoping to show you more specimens with more flowers. Another plant that's new for 2023 is the Mini Me Watermelon Coleus. Look at the beautiful coloration of that leaf. Kind of a reddish pink color, edged in that chartreuse green, beautifully serrated edges, just a more compact Coleus. Also, there is the Supertunia Persimmon, which is a beautiful color. I think that one's going to be really hot next year. Mini Vista Yellow, and then another Mini Vista Midnight tucked in there as well. So really, I've been very pleased with how these plants have done, held out well throughout the summer. And we'll see how long they go, or we'll see how long it is before Rod gets sick looking at annuals and is ready for the fall transformation. This year we did sun patiens lining the walkway. Typically in the past, if you've watched any of the videos from years prior, we've always done Supertunia Vistas. But I'm really happy with how the sun patiens turned out this year. They really create a more defined look in this space, where the Supertunias would just fill it in. It looked great, but I just love the little pops of color opposed to just a huge mass of color. In the corner there, we have the Supertunia Vista Jazzberry that was planted with the Superbell's Dreamsicle, and there was one other plant mixed in with that, but you can see the Jazzberry has totally taken over and is looking gorgeous in that container. Oh, the sun is so bright right now. Along the fountain there, we've got the Fireworks Penicetum grass, which is great during the summer. It's an annual. And then in the fall, you can see the beautiful plumes. The containers on either side of the entrance, we have the new for 2023, the Cypress Queen Tut grass. And that is doing really nice. I'm really pleased with how that looks in both of these containers. And in these containers, we have some more of that Nemesia, the Air Romance Mulberry. It's doing fabulous. There's also some of the Verbena Sparkling Amethyst, and then the Strawberry Vein Supertunia. So these pots have really held out nice, and I'm very, very happy with how they did this year. My front porch, I've always kind of done this combination, mixed up various elements of it. But we have the Begonia Pegasus, which is this really beautiful large leaf begonia. There's also the Fuchsia Fireworks, which is a nice thriller in this combination. And then I did plant some of the Super Bells. These are the double yellows. And then there's a couple begonias tucked in there, but you can hardly see them. So really, the Pegasus and the Fuchsia Fireworks has really taken over in this combination. So our hanging baskets this year just were not doing well, and we finally planted them up for fall. So this is the first step in our fall transformation. Let's see what Rod put in here. Looks like some snapdragons, celosia, some marigolds, and then a couple heuchera. Also looks like there's a couple pansies in there as well. And then, oh, there's some garden mums too. They're just not blooming yet. So those will kind of progress as it gets cooler here, but just a start of transforming into the fall colors. Watering is definitely something that takes a lot of time. This whole front garden is on drip irrigation, but even so, at this time of year, it takes some extra supplemental water just to keep everything looking really nice. So when Rod gets a chance, he'll come out at night and just give everything a little extra shot of water. Making our way around, we have the Bobo Hydrangeas in front of the house, and those are just a little bit past the prime right now. They're about 3 to 4 foot tall and 3 to 4 foot wide. There's 3 plants in that space, and it's just really a nice kind of a hedge in front of the window there. We've got our lilac tree. This was trimmed in the early spring, and you can see the new growth on there, so that will be blooming again next spring. Underneath of it are Anna's Magic Balls. These are very mature thuyas. They've been in here, man, I don't know, probably 10 years maybe now, but I just love the evergreen color that they bring to the garden, and I just love the mass of just the nice circular look it does under the tree, and they stay very compact, so that's really perfect for this location. Making our way around the side of the hill, we've got the Sun Patience. This is the Sun Patient Hot Pink, and this is the same that was lining the front border of the house. Behind them is the Quick Fire Hydrangea. This started blooming, the beginning of July or so, and it's been in its prime for weeks. This is pretty much the final stage of the coloration of this plant. It's just a really, really beautiful hydrangea. Now I am going to say this has recently been discontinued, but if you're liking the look, Quick Fire Fab would be an alternative, or Pinky Winky. Making the way down the hill, we have 3 more of the Bobo Hydrangeas. They're looking just a little bit different than the ones in the front. These are a little bit behind. Tucked between, we have the Pugster Butterfly Bush. And those just really, I mean, they look nice now, but they kind of struggled to get going this year. So, I don't know. I think this was a little bit maybe a trickier year for the butterfly bush in my garden. In the back is, a very dried out hydrangea. So we got to get water on that. The leaves are just looking funky, all curly and really not very nice looking. So we need to come in here and we'll probably get some water on it. Well, we'll need to get water on here. But wow, I haven't noticed this plant. That's not looking good. But that's like the Limelight Hydrangea. Got some summerific hibiscus here. Really beautiful, large, bright, bold blooms. I love hibiscus in the garden. Another Pugster butterfly bush. This one here is a little bit bigger. Dark blue blooms and very, very fragrant. As we make our way around, this here is an incredible blush hydrangea. This is blooming in July. It really needs to be trimmed, but we're going to just leave it for now because even though the blooms are spent, it still adds a little interest to the garden. So I want to show you something. This one got trimmed in about half last year. So if you can see in here kind of where the trimmings are. So what we'll probably do is come through and cut about 18 inches off the top of this plant going into next year. Got to cut around a tree that's kind of sticking over the edge here. Oh, it's getting so big. I'll show you here. This neighbor's tree, we used to could ride our lawnmower through that space, but it's getting so large that we can hardly even walk through that space now. In this area, the purple you're seeing is Lythrum, or swamp. It's also often found out in the swamps. Beautiful plant. It can sometimes be invasive, so you want to be careful if you have this in your garden because at times it may spread. It doesn't spread in my yard. I love it as just kind of a nice anchor plant, but it can be invasive in some areas. We have the Buddleia. This is the blue chip, really doing nicely. The cherry cordial Surefire begonia. This is a new begonia for 2023, and in the video at the garden center as well as at my house here, it is doing fabulous. Sage Hosta. Paint the Town Fancy Dianthus, just a few little reblooms going on there. And then this one is Paint the Town, I'm not sure which one it is though. But again, a few little reblooms. Alstroemeria Anka Ice always does fabulous year after year. This one is one of the earlier ones to start blooming in the garden and just continues to bloom until we get a really good hard frost. There's been times that this has been blooming even in November here in my zone 5B 6A garden. This was one plant when it started out, and it just continues to get a larger and larger clump every year. Up against the house, we have the little Quickfire hydrangea. So I had showed you Quickfire just a few moments ago. This is little Quickfire, and new for 2023 will be tiny Quickfire, which is just a little bit shorter than the little Quickfire. Snippet Lime Weigela. This is just starting to do a rebloom. This is a spring blooming plant, but you can see it's a rebloomer, and there's a few flowers here just starting to show. Next, we will take a look here at the circle garden. This has the Limelight standard, or a Limelight tree in the center with the Bloomerang dwarf lilacs. They are reblooming lilacs. They bloom in the spring, and then they'll bloom throughout the summer as well. Let's go in and take a closer look at the flower. Bloomerang dwarf purple. Really a very pretty plant. The red you're seeing are red sun patiens, doing fabulous. And then the My Monet Weigela between, which has great foliage, and then in the spring gets magenta flowers on it. I just love how that's paired together, how the pinky rosiness of that Weigela and the red of the sun patiens really play well together. And even they pull out that little bit of pink on the Limelight tree as well. So this garden, when it was planted, Rod planted it up, and he just wanted to create some consistency with a look here. There's also Atlas roses, but they've been trimmed, so they're not blooming right now. But by just having, 5 plants in this garden, just creates a very consistent look, no matter what side you're looking at it from, and I think it's gorgeous. This was where we first introduced red into our garden as well. Although there's a lot of pink going on, I think this is a pretty special place to bring the red to the garden. When he gets home from work, he likes walking out in his garden. Just checking everything out, making sure it looks good. Under the deck, we have a bunch of hostas because it's a shady location. There's some Rudbeckia there, little gold star. Up front is Hosta Liberty. Everybody asks, so we'll say it right out front, Hosta Liberty. Also some Bernera and a Stilby for spring color. Up against the window there is the Invincible Wee White Hydrangeas. Those are, they're done. They were like a summer bloomer, but again, the flowers look pretty even at this stage in the game. So we just leave the flowers on there for interest, and Yeah, just a nice low growing hydrangea, only gets about 3 foot tall. In front are the new Lantana for 2023. The orangey one is Basket Tangelo, and then the yellow one, I'll pop the name up on the screen. I'm having a hard time remembering what that one is right now, but both paired nicely together. And then there's a few little Gomphrena poked in there for the little splashes of purple you're seeing. This little bed here has the Cat's Pajamas Nepeta along the back, and then in front of it is the Pink Diamonds Dicentra. Pink Diamonds and Nepeta Cat's Pajamas has bloomed virtually all summer long. Lining the front border is the Supertunia Persimmon, and the problem is not the plant, the problem is us. We haven't fertilized these at all this summer, and this is what they look like. So do yourself a favor and fertilize. Did I just say water? We haven't fertilized these plants at all this summer. So do yourself a favor and make sure you're fertilizing even in the ground your Supertunias. Tucked in behind the flagpole, we've got some Atlas roses, the beautiful peachy orange color, beautiful clusters. Some more of the Truffula Pink Gomphrena, and then tucked in there is a bunch of coneflowers just to add that nice pollinator piece. The white you're seeing is Supertunia Mini Vista White, a great ground cover. And then tucked in there, the pink Supertunias, or Superbells that you're seeing, is the Superbells Prism Pink Lemonade. A beautiful mix of pinks and yellows, and doing really nicely here in this landscape. Orange is Campfire Bidens, a full sun plant, and that too is pretty happy in this little home. To round out the Surefire Begonia family, there is Surefire White Begonia with nice Kelly green leaves, glossy foliage, and really clean white flowers. Like, we literally have done nothing with this plant this summer, and just look how crisp and clean that white is. Really a nice, beautiful addition. I think the only thing they need yet in the Surefire family is a white with a dark leaf, and who knows, maybe that will be coming in the future. Supertunia Vista Jazzberry, Supertunia Mini Vista Yellow, kind of lining the path here. The ornamental grass you're seeing, that is the Morning Light grass. The black foliage is the Dahlia Mystic Illusion, really a beautiful dahlia with that deep jet black foliage. And that's mixed in with the mini Mauvette hydrangeas, which are past their normal bloom time. Let's take a walk out to the butterfly garden and see how it's looking. I do want to point out that if you're looking for some privacy in your garden, a great shrub to plant would be the American Pillar or the North Pole Arborvitae. I'm not sure that that's what these are. My neighbor planted these, but American Pillar or North Pole would be good substitutions to create this privacy border, giving you a park-like feeling in your backyard, yet creating a nice hedge to block, your neighbors. Their hedge had died at some point, and instead of replacing smaller plants, they chose to tuck in some Rosa Sharon in there, which they're a pretty plant with pretty flowers. But had this been my hedge, I would have put more arborvitae in just to keep that consistent fence-like look going on. The butterfly garden is really showing signs of fall. Coneflowers are pretty much at their seed stages. And what I recommend is if you have coneflowers and they are at this stage, do not trim them back, because this is a great source of seeds for finches and other birds. So you'll often find birds on your coneflowers this time of year. So don't trim them back, just let the birds enjoy them. Of course, if we're doing a butterfly garden, we need to have the Escalapius, and the Escalapius is now past its blooming time, but check out all those buds. All those spikes are the seed pods, not buds, but seed pods, And just look at those seeds. They're just waiting to catch the next wind and populate somewhere else. What I might do is actually come out here and gather some of these seeds and keep them for next year. And I'll try seeding them for in our butterfly house or around the landscape at the greenhouse, where we are encouraging the monarch butterflies in that space. Wow, just look at this. Oh, I'm spilling them. But yeah, it's to that point where they're all nice and dry and just ready to let the wind take them. Actually, I'll let the wind take them. Look at that. So pretty. That's what that little cotton is on there, to help the wind spread them around. Bobo Hydrangea, looking great. So as I'd mentioned before in videos, we're going to trim these back this year. We're going to trim them back to probably about 2 foot because they are starting to get a little bit large for this space. So I want to trim them and just get them back down to that more 3-foot size. The butterfly garden we have lined with white sun patience. And I love this because at night it just illuminates, this white does. So it kind of creates a moon garden feel. It's just really pretty. Tucked in is the Miss Molly butterfly bush. This is actually, I think, my favorite in the Miss series. I just love that magenta bloom, and I think it looks really special paired with the white of the sun patience and with the Bobo Hydrangea. These sun patience have really taken over. So since the last video I did in this garden, like there's a pocket here of perennials, but hardly you can see them now because the sun patience have just really filled in this space. So it's crazy how big these get. These are the compact variety, and they're at least 24 inches tall. So if you don't get the compact variety, or if you get the vigorous ones, I've heard they can get upwards of 3 foot tall. Okay, I'm not sure what Rod's doing right now. Maybe it's time for a rest. Gardening can be exhausting. Wave, Rod. At least he's having fun. As we make our way through the path here in the butterfly garden, you'll notice there's some more coneflowers at this end. A few of the Fall in Love Sweetly anemones are starting to bloom. This is a great fall flower. Really beautiful pinks. And that's paired up against the Weigela Sonic Bloom Pink, which is in its 3rd bloom cycle of the season. And you can see all the beautiful blooms happening. Salvia Rockin' Fuchsia with some incredible sunflowers. Little Silver Falls and some Lantana along with Penicetum grass. These sun patience are just as tall as my container. They are just huge. And these do not get fertilized. Sun patience do not like fertilizer. Here's Escalatia Cinderella, also just loaded with all of these seed pods and seeds just waiting to blow in the breeze. I think Escalatia Cinderella is actually one of my favorites, just because it does so well here in my garden. Tucked behind the sun patience is Nepeta Cat's Pajamas. Can't even see it this time of year. You're recognizing maybe some lupin foliage there. Coneflowers, dark black from the summerific hibiscus. And then I think the featured plant of this garden is the Firelight Hydrangea. It's in its prime right now. The beautiful magenta colors. Just look at it up against that white, so stunning. And then even the sky tonight is just so beautiful with this garden. Look at the blue sky. Kind of gives you that red, white, and blue feel, doesn't it? Beautiful, beautiful Firelight Hydrangea. We're going to make our way back now to the shade garden with the Hosta. But before we do so, Rod's been just patiently laying. We saw him earlier. And I says, what are you doing? He says, I'm showing you how big these things are. So as we walk back to Rod, he's laying on his side. And you can see, put your head down, pretend you're taking a nap, Rod, because that's really what you want to do, right? So as he's laying here in the garden, they're about twice as tall as he is. I don't want to give you a number because I don't want to put a number on what his, side to side is. But you can see those are very, very tall. Now stand up once, Rod, maybe up to your legs. It's going to be knee high. He loves when I do this to him in videos. He's really humoring me right now. So the sun patiens are a little bit taller than his knees. So really, really they're doing very well. So why do you like sun patiens, Rod? Why don't you give your feedback? I'll get closer so they can hear you.
So I like sun patiens because as long as you're able to give them water, you don't have to feed them. This whole area was Vista petunias, and don't get me wrong, I love those Vista petunias, but they take a lot of feed. And these, one slow release fertilizer, pre-winter fertilizer in the spring, and water, and you get this.
So really a very beautiful display of color with not that much work involved. All right, let's head on over to the Hosta Garden and see how the hostas are doing. So this is like one of the more shadier spots in the garden. And just the sun, I gotta show you, I don't know if it's gonna show, nope. So this is one of the more shadier spots in the garden, and we try to pack in as many hostas as we can in this space. And when we're doing so, we try not to repeat in any varieties as well. So we've got big hostas, small hostas, blue hostas, chartreuse hostas, green hostas, ruffly hostas, smooth hostas, just all different kind of hostas. So the flowers, that also adds a little extra interest, but we poke caladiums in here as well, just to break up some of the green. So you'll see little splashes of white and of red in this area, and those are the caladiums that have been poked in. In front of us, that green you're seeing, that's the Aurelia Sun King. The way the sun's on it, it's not really doing it justice right now, but it's a beautiful, beautiful chartreuse green. We also have some of this is the pink and blue pulmonaria, great spring color. As we make our way around, we start getting a little bit more sun, although we are still able to incorporate a lot of the hostas in because a lot of these hostas can handle full sun or part sun. So some of the things you're seeing in here is obviously the border of the sun patiens, the hot pink sun patiens, and they're just fabulous from my window in the house. You can see them, they create a very, very vibrant focal point as you're looking back in this garden space. We've got some ferns in here, some astilbes. Here is the new astilbe dark side of the moon. So that we might have to move because I don't want these sun patiens covering it, because that's a really cool plant that deserves to have like more spotlight than being hid behind the sun patiens. There's some hydrangeas in this space too. They're done flowering now, but in July I have nice splashes of hydrangea color there. Here's actually one. So we just planted Ariba and Can-Do in here because I want to see how those two big leaf hydrangeas do. Typically, well, we've had big leaf hydrangeas in here before and I just have ripped them out because they don't flower. So I wanted to give these two new varieties a try, and I think they'll do good because they're just quicker to bloom and a lot hardier than some of the older varieties. Got Bernera there, another astilbe dark side of the moon, some more Alstroemeria. That plant's been here as long as this garden has been here. I love Alstroemeria. Some more astilbe that's finished blooming. Got the flowers from some hostas. See the at last rose tucked in there. And then also I wanted to show you the Queen Tut cypress grass. We planted that in the ground as well as in containers just to see how it performs in the different locations. And this is doing fabulous. This is there's 3 plants planted there, so that's why it looks so large. Another Bobo Hydrangea. Now these back here, for whatever reason, they're staying very compact where all my other ones are getting giant. So this area sometimes has been known to be kind of a finicky area. We weren't getting enough water on it. We've done a better job now by getting the underground sprinkling up and in here to give more water. but it might just be they're not getting as much water as what some of the other ones are. The pink you're seeing there is the Fall in Love Sweetly Anemone. We talked about it earlier, but here it is in another portion of the garden. Some more hostas. I'm excited to see the String Theory Amsonia bloom. So for the fall, this should get really vibrant fall foliage color. So we'll see. We have it paired there with some heuchera, which is also great fall foliage color. So that the String Theory has great blue flowers in the spring, but I'm waiting for the great fall foliage as well. So that one's kind of a twofer plant, you know, spring interest and fall interest. There's some spent blooms there of the Allium Serendipity. Some more hostas and incredible blush hydrangeas up there on the back hill. This is a patch of daylilies that are done flowering now. As we make our way around, the color of the sun patience just changed to purple instead of pink. Little lime hydrangea there by the shed. And then in the back of the shed, those are limelight hydrangeas that we planted just to kind of create a border between us and the neighbor there. Also, there is a hibiscus. I didn't even know this was in here. You can see the Japanese beetles have certainly had their way with that. All the holes and stuff in it. Another tall anemone. I think that's Honorary Jobert in the back there. All the beautiful yellow you're seeing, that's Henry Ayler's Rudbeckia. Really beautiful, just unique looking. And then you've got the Rudbeckia Gold Star. Holy Grail Hibiscus is the red. And again, you can see the Japanese beetles really have done a number on that. Huge patch of Incredible. This is going to get, we'll see, trimmed out or pulled out, one or the other this fall. I want to replant it, but I want to just dig it out because it's kind of created multiple plants, and I want to just get this area kind of tidied up and looking a little bit more uniform and not so messy. Bobo Hydrangea. Yellow blooms are Invincible Spirit. That's a reblooming hydrangea, so those are all new blooms. Spirea. This looked great in the spring. In the back there, the pink you're seeing, that is the Cleome Senorita Rosalita. Got some purple Rigucci Clematis still showing on the trellis back there. Some sweet potato vine just mingling. Allium Millennium. Somebody had recently asked me if they can trim those spent blooms off of the Allium Millennium. And yes, you can. You can trim those off, if those balls off, if you don't want them on your plant. That won't hurt the plant at all. Or I've seen other people spray paint them purple. I guess. To each their own. In the back here, the kind of blue-green foliage, that is Baptisia. That's a spring bloomer. But look at that great foliage it gives even this late in the season. The tall plant is Rhamnus Fine Line. Ooh, the Proudberry is blooming right now. Check out all these beautiful, beautiful pink berries on this Proudberry shrub. And this is just getting started. Look at all of these just beginnings of berries. This is really going to have a nice yield of berries on it this fall, going into winter. This is one of those plants that I think is very underutilized, under-talked about. But man, the berries on it are just stunning. Gives you something different, I think, other than flowers. Flowers are great, but this just the uniqueness here of the berries on Proudberry is really, really nice. And it's a great pollinator plant as well. We've got some sedum here, some ground cover sedum. I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe this is the Sun Sparkler Wildfire. Another hibiscus blooming. Beautiful flowers, dark foliage. Another Atlas rose tucked in here. You'll notice I really don't have a lot of roses in my garden, with the exception of the Atlas rose. I've really been very happy with how that performs and how that looks in the garden. And orange isn't my color, but man, that definitely has found a home and a place in my heart. Beautiful tall phlox there. We carried one of every Inca Alstroemeria this year. A lot of the Incas are not hardy here in Michigan, so I'm kind of doing a trial to see if they will overwinter or not. We're zone 5, 6. Many of these are hardy in zone 8. So it'll be really interesting to see which ones do come back next year and which ones don't. Even so, even if I'm planting them just as an annual, they've bloomed all summer long and just really are a pretty addition. You'll notice they're not as tall as what the Inca Ice was that we saw earlier on in the video, but just great colors. A lot of great colors in this mix of Alstroemeria. Up front is a mini Vista Scarlet, doing really nice. Again, this needs fertilizer. We don't get out here and fertilize well, so this plant is kind of living on water and whatever might be in the soil, but really nice ground cover, nice red color in the mini Vista family. One of our top selling roses this year was the Reminiscent Crema, and this was just planted this summer, so it's not super big yet, but it's so beautiful and so fragrant. Look at these beautiful double blooms. Some are comparing these to the David Austin roses, but proven winners, a proven winner series, but very, very fragrant, very pretty. I just love these really clean white flowers. New sedum for next year. This is the Sedum Rockin' Low Bright Ideas. It's got nice bright yellow flowers, and then if you can see, there's red stems, so that's quite unique. A bit of honey Heliopsis, again just planted, so they're not super huge, but great foliage color with that nice golden yellow bloom. In the back there is, I think this is, oh boy, this is a new one. The name's not coming to me, so we'll put it on the screen. But I really have been enjoying the pinkish coral color of this plant, and it seems to be quite hardy. A lot of flowers, great branching. So really a nice addition to the double coated is the series, the double coated series from Proven Winners. Sedum Autumn Joy, just a great fall favorite, kind of an old-fashioned favorite. Wine and Roses Wagila, another Sedum Autumn Joy that's split wide open. What I could have done here is I could have trimmed it a little bit earlier in the season and not let it get so tall, so this didn't happen. But, gardens can do their thing as well. You don't always have time to be out tending to every single plant. You'll see kind of a repeat again of the bit of honey Heliopsis, along with more coneflowers. Oh, there's a tag. So this double is double coated raspberry beret. Really pretty. And then the single is the fuchsia is bright. This new Agastache is royal raspberry. Really beautiful, long blooming, perennial. The Limelight Hydrangea is huge. And this is just starting to transform to its fall color, getting just a little bit of that kiss of blush pink going on. Really nice plant, really large too. This is another one that we could trim back pretty aggressively this fall if we choose to do so. Some phlox that's reblooming. This is the opening act Pinkadot. This was trimmed back and now it's got a second round of blooms, doing really well. What else do we have in here? Some more of the new Osteospermum, Horizon Sunset or Sunset Horizon, Nemesia, Aromance Mulberry, another incredible hydrangea towards the end of its cycle, Sedum Popstar, that's doing really nice, great fall color. And then as we get to this side, it's kind of a repeat of the other. One thing I do want to point out, and I want to give this plant kind of its little shout out, is the Nemesia Aromance Raspberry, or Mulberry. This has been one of my favorite new annuals this year, kind of maybe a different one to call a favorite, but Nemesia is one of those plants that's kind of a cool weather lover. Heat usually makes it kind of fizzle out, but this plant has just been kicking it all summer long, like non-stop blooms, always looking gorgeous. So I really am very impressed with this Aromance Mulberry Nemesia. If you have a chance next year, I would recommend giving a couple of them a try. It's a beautiful color in my opinion, and the performance in the heat has just been unlike any I've ever tried before. So really a nice plant. For those of you who are new to our station, I welcome you to subscribe to get all the updates on any garden tours that we do here, either at home, at the Northern Michigan Garden, or at the greenhouse, as well as little short videos that we do featuring plants throughout my garden or trial gardens that I've been to. Also, if you'd like to follow us on YouTube or Instagram, we're there as well with great garden posts and pictures. Thank you for walking through the garden with me tonight. It's been a pleasure. If you have any questions, feel free to leave your comments or questions below, and I'll be sure to answer them as soon as I'm able. If there's a plant that I was skirted over because it wasn't in bloom or maybe didn't seem of significance to me, just tell me the time that you saw it in the video and I'll try to identify it for you. With so many plants in this garden, it's so hard to hit them all, but hopefully we hit some of the favorites and key plants for this September garden tour. This is Heidi from Garden Crossings.